Hello everyone and welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon. Also welcome back to me, Bacon. Apparently that's my new intro now, for I have done it twice. Let's continue on with chapter 8. Chevrolet. Did I say Chevrolet? I meant to say Chevalier. Well, whatever. Today I'm outside by myself. I think if Parfait or Delora knew, they would do worse than scold me. I shuffle uncomfortably as I sit at the little cafe Bria told me to wait for her at. A part of me is already convinced that she will not come. One issue I'm having whenever Bria's name comes up is I keep thinking about the cheese, which kind of mildly distracts my little ADHD brain, so I kind of like pause a little bit in the sentence I've noticed. When I wrote her that letter asking for Rumpel's journals and she responded so easily, I was a little suspicious, but this is really the only chance I have. The only chance you'll have, what? To get the journals back. And why was I talking out loud to myself? Bria appears in front of me, not looking altogether unpleased, but still not smiling. Nothing. I do not like her, but I will have to play nice if I want to get Rumpel's journals back. Thank you for meeting me out here. Oh, I just realized that she doesn't remember that she's the princess. But when she does remember that she's the princess, oh dear. I'm really sad because we're probably not going to get that reaction, like with everyone else. Bria takes a seat in front of me, her expression still flat. You asked me in your letter why I was refusing to speak to Rumpel, and then you told me you wanted to meet with me to find out why. She reaches into a bag and pulls out a few journals that I assume are Rumpel's. At least she brought them. So she does have them. I know in your eyes I must seem the villain, but I'm not the only one at fault in this relationship. I mean, if you were having some serious issues, serious enough to cheat on him, you either should have spoken to him about it, or you should have broken up with him, so you are. Because it's one of those things where if you feel like you can't speak to him, then you don't need to be together, you need to break up. Like, whatever reason you had for not talking to him instead of cheating on him, it's just not good enough. It's either break up or talk about it and try to fix things. Years ago, when I met Rumpel, he was as he is now. Flirtatious, charming, over the top, and yet his compliments still made my heart sore. His compliments may be shallow, but Rumpel is far from it. Whatever you say, lady. I pined after him for years. He was learning medicine, and I was studying to take over my mother's sewing shop. In the first years that I knew him, Rumpel always complimented my work, even though it was nothing special. He insisted we do trade-offs. When we started dating, he would offer me flowers and trinkets, and in exchange I would sew him some articles of clothing. I can see he's still wearing the scarf that I made him. That scarf was from Bria? We fell in love. Rumpel became a changed man, more serious. He became a doctor, and I opened up a shop. We were supposed to have a fairy tale ending, but... Her expression falls again as she absently looks down at the table. We saw in each other ideals that didn't exist. Love can be shallow or it can be deep. I felt our love was deep, but in truth, I only ever knew the very surface of Rumpel. The surface? I saw his kindness, his charm, and his drive to do what was right. But then, as time went on, I also saw what that meant. The world is a place where only the strong survive. People are kind, but they will be taken advantage of by those who are too caring. Kind of like what you did with a lord of all guys? Those sound like Mother's words. I shudder as I think about Mother's pessimism, the same kind that lies in me. It is a realistic way of looking at the world, but it is also so dismal and cloudy that it is impossible to see any light within it. Rumpel helped a lot of people. Many of them were wonderful people, and I was always happy to see him do so. But then, he started putting other people above himself, and because we lived together, that meant me as well. Maybe it sounds petty to you, but no woman wants to live in poverty. I look at her skeptically. In the back of my mind, I remember the convenience of luxury, of so much money. I then recall the feeling of living poor on the streets and flinch. So, I mentioned in an earlier video with Rumpel about how, like, he can't not be taking some form of payment. In particular, when it came to that lord, especially that guy. That guy should have somehow, like, maybe that's how they met, was that he tried to sneak the payment through Bria, who accepted it, and that's how they accidentally started talking. Maybe. But yeah, he should not have been refusing payment from everyone. I understand, like, you know, that charging normal for people who can afford it, and then for people who can barely afford it, giving them a discount, and for people who can't afford it at all, allowing it to come out of your pocket. And if anybody has a problem with your practices, then tell them, well, then go to a different doctor. We had a house, and we had a reputation. But Rumpel refused money most of the time. He helped lots of people, but he also dried out our wallets. That's a really hard place to be in. It's a huge gray area, and I understand that kind of struggle. In fact, apparently it's usually lawyers who are put into that kind of position, and it's really hard to be in because, you know, you got to be able to put food on your own table, but you also don't want anybody to, say, suffer just because they weren't able to afford something that should be affordable. Like if they need to defend themselves, or if they need to get something back, or in the case of doctors, if they just don't want to die. They have every right to not want to die. But at the same time, you know, the person who's performing this, unless they are extremely wealthy, they don't really have the ability to do that. And unfortunately, it's usually the guys who aren't extremely wealthy, who have been in these situations before, who are usually the ones that are a little more giving and understanding, and who try their best to do as much as they can while ignoring their own issues. And in this world, Rumpel, you know, in this route anyway, Rumpel's going to end up with the princess. He's going to be fine. He can actually continue his practice 100% free if he wants to. But Rumpel's a little different in that he didn't charge a lord. That's what they said. So it wasn't just poor people. He also wasn't properly charging people who can't afford things. And that's a slightly different position to be in. Either way, though, let's pretend like he was taking money from lords, so he was occasionally taking in some money. Not a lot of lords came to him. It was mostly like poor people. And she had a costume shop. I can understand her burning out. She's, you know, the main financial giver of the relationship. So even though they had a house, they had a lot to worry about. Now, it sounds like the house itself was a really nice house. Like, they were really impressed to see it when she first entered the story. So there are also other ways to kind of be able to make a little extra money on the side. Like, do you absolutely need a gigantic freaking house? Unless it was part of your office as well. Like, if it was also your office as well as your house, that's one thing. But if it's just your house and you're doing only at home calls, then there's no need to have a big house. And no offense to Bria here, but she's coming off way too much like she wants to be spoiled with nice material things. I mean, she cheated on him with a freaking lord. It also came off like she had already decided in her heart that even though she still really cared about him, that, you know, like to her, it's still kind of like, I know I'm a bad person for this, but I gotta think about me. He's clearly not treating me right. So she decided, I'm gonna hang on to this guy that I'm possibly gonna marry as a backup, while also acting like I'm single. So, at least in this world, somebody, especially someone like her, who clearly wants to get married, who clearly wants to have the reputation, who clearly wants to have the money, it's important to her to settle down with somebody of a higher station than what she has. And that just makes things worse. Now, that's just an assumption, so we're just going based off of what we know to be fact. She cheated on him because she was having a problem with their differing ideologies. If that is not a lifestyle that you can maintain, or that you want to maintain, or that is just burning you out, you need to leave. If you feel like it's just too different, if you feel like you guys are just going to suffer too much, you need to leave. And I can't believe I am defending Rumpel, of all people, this hard. And whenever I brought it up to him, he would smile as if that could just get rid of all of our problems. Okay, so she did try to talk to him about it. In which case, you need to leave. If you even felt like you might be cheating on him and you've already tried to speak to him about it, then you need to lay down the groundwork and say, hey, look, I can't live like this. We need to be making more money. So either find a way to make enough money to make up for all the stuff that you're spending for your patients, or I need to be finding someone new. He made a name for himself as a doctor who helped the poor for minimal money, sometimes for free. And even when I told him we needed more money, he put other people first. There you go. You were discussing it with him. Good. I'm glad you did. still doesn't excuse you cheating on him. You should have just left if you were this miserable and he was just ignoring you. Or you should have warned him, I'm going to leave unless you take me seriously. He was so selfless that he became selfish. And I told him before that he should have accepted money, that he needed it. So selfless, he became selfish. I had to go behind his back and find payment. What I was making wasn't enough. So I went to his patients and tried to ask for payment. I became almost like a beggar. Can you imagine my humiliation? Then leave! If it gets to a point where you feel like you have to beg for money, and it's humiliating to you, and you're miserable, you need to leave. Rumpel put his patients before Bria. I was convinced he didn't love me, and my love dwindled for him. Our relationship became strained. Bria goes on to explain the events that happened between her and the nobleman. He was one of Rumpel's patients, and when she went to him to ask for the money he had originally offered, the two of them became intimate. But it was short-lived, and when the nobleman left her behind, Bria had to deal with the soured reputation. That's your own damn fault now, isn't it? I wanted to make it up to Rumpel. I thought I could salvage this relationship, maybe even start over and teach him what was right, but teach him what was right? That is not my place. Oh, honey. Oh, honey, honey. That was... Rumpel should have accepted the money from the Lord. He should have. There are some patients, like I said, if they can afford it, he should have just freaking accepted it. That was entirely on him, and I would have been so angry at him for that. If we were in this position, and he refused money from someone whom it would not have hurt to take the money from, I would have been angry. But I also would have stepped out long before I was asking people for money. Maybe we would have still been friends or something, but I would have not been with him anymore. And I actually think that it's funny that the nobleman, like, dumped her eventually because, you know, what she was doing was wrong. What he was doing was wrong. And I still can't believe that he actually did that with this doctor who didn't charge him, who went out of his way to seek out a witch of healing, made a deal to save him. Maybe the witch of healing, the healing witch was saying that he can't accept payment for her deals or something. Maybe that was it? She sighs deeply and then gestures at me. I share blame in all of this too, but so does Rumpel. That's why I've decided to let this all go. Oh, honey. Honey, 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 honey. Honey. Yeah, Rumpel's to blame for making things bad. You are your own self to blame. For souring your reputation, for ruining most likely any chance you have with anyone in town at all, for cheating on him, for not taking steps to do better for yourself when you saw things were not going to improve. You cannot blame any of that on Rumpel. Whatever he does now, you'll have to deal with, because you're his partner, right? Bria hands me the bag of journals. Don't look so surprised. You came here for these, not to listen to me. I thought on it last night, and I have no reason to keep them around when they'll just continue making me bitter. Is that his house or her house? Because she indicated it was his house. So, when he gets his memory back, she's going to be kicked to the curb. I hope she has some backup plans. Well, no, he wouldn't kick her out, and especially if he became, which he is in this route at least, married to or with Lucette. Knowing him, he's probably just going to give her the house. Because the other issue with Rumpel is that he's real bad about being a floor mat. In the times that he is being a floor mat. Other times, it's still, he is treating people really terribly, and then other times he's letting people treat him terribly. It's very back and forth. I'll have to rely on myself for a while, but that's fine. Sometimes it's easier to keep to yourself than to trust others. She moves to stand up, but I surprise myself by reaching out to grab her hand. Bria, I don't need your pity. I thought the same thing. What? I still think the same thing. It is so much easier to close the world off. It is so much easier to trust no one but yourself, but it should also be a balance. That is what Rumpel has taught me. And I want to teach him how to have balance too. You? You're falling for his kindness the same way I did. You fell in love with him even though you told yourself he was shallow and unrealistic. My heart thumps once loudly in my chest. Love? I can read it right off your face. I know how it feels too, but Don't get wrapped up in an ideal little girl. That is my warning. If you can help him, actually help him, then you're meant to be together. But otherwise, trusting Rumpel might only break your heart. I am not a little girl. I know how to be realistic. My words trail off as I look at her helplessly. Bria surprises me by speaking up quietly. Thank you for listening to me. She pulls her hand away and slowly smiles at me. It is the first honest smile I have seen on her face. I feel something warm at my chest, and then a bright light emanates from my necklace. A good deed? For listening to Bria, or... I glance down at the bag of journals, then down at my necklace. I touch the pendant. The new piece brings a brief smile to my lips. I have 2 good deeds now. Only one more and I can break my curse. Magic? Is this another fairy tale curse? Yes. Your name was Lucette, wasn't it? Rumpel talked about you fondly. I hope that the both of you break your curses. Good luck. I still would love to see Bria's reaction to finding out who Lucette is when she breaks her curse. Like, she remembers who she was just speaking to and be like, oh crap! Bria walks away, leaving me by myself in the town square. No, I don't think anything bad should happen to Bria, mind you. I think that she's caused her own harm, and I just think it would be funny to see her reaction. I just think her reaction would be hilarious. My mind swirls with everything that she just told me. I still cannot bring myself to like Bria, but I feel more closure now. But now, something new plagues my mind. How could I fall in love with someone like Rumpel? That's what I want to know. The more I say it, the more it becomes a certainty, but rather than fill me with joy, it only makes me more confused. I cannot think about this now. I turn on my heels to head back and bump promptly into a man. Hello, former goth boyfriend. Oh, sorry, madam. He smiles at me and then keeps walking. You are late to this party! I stare after him, feeling slightly uncomfortable. With the mask and cloak, the man reminded me of a performer. I make my way back to the marchant with the bag of journals, still struggling to keep my mind from wandering. Every time I think about Rumpel being so close to me or his kindness toward me, I feel jittery inside. Despite everything that Bria said, I cannot stop these feelings. These feelings are annoying. Yet even as I think that, I know it is not the full truth. Do I really? I hear the marchant's door opening, and out steps Waltz. The minute he sees me, his eyes widen and he runs toward me. Princess, where were you? I was running an errand. I hold up the bag, but it does little to ease Waltz's frustration. The good goth boyfriend. We were all looking for you, and we got worried that the witches had found you. Rumpel already went out into town. What? I'll go... Please, princess, stay inside. His expression softens somewhat until all I can see on his face is worry. I'll go get Rumpel. My mood feels completely dashed as I enter the marchant to whispers both relieved and disappointed. Really? People are jerks. Surprisingly, I get away with just a lecture from Delora and Parfait. It seems as if there is something else on their minds, something that most likely involves the rumors circulating around town. I wait downstairs for a long time for Rumpel, but neither him nor Waltz appear. Where are they? I retire to my room later as I wait for news. Waltz eventually returns, saying that Rumpel is still out because he had things he wanted to do. I have no idea what that means, but it unsettles me. Should I go find him? Okay. Stay in the room, leave the room. I kind of feel like the smarter one would be to stay in the room. Otherwise, people are going to get real angry at her. But she tends to go for the make people angry option. We'll start with the first one and see how that works. Knowing everyone, if I tried to leave the marchand, they would get riled up again. Yep. I have already had Delora come in so many times to make sure I am still here. I sit up on my bed and stare at the bag of journals beside my bedside table. Are we gonna snoop? And here I was looking forward to giving these journals to him. I am still here, Delora. Rumpel stands in the doorway. I stare at the bouquet he has in his hand, wondering where he got it and what it might be for. Ah, there she is, the wonderful Princess Lucette. I was worried you had come and gone with the wind again, free spirit that you are. I stand as he steps into the room. I'm glad to see you back, Princess. I'm only sorry that I couldn't make it back here any faster. I had a few errands of my own to run in town. Rumpel holds out the bouquet with a glittering smile. Like buying these flowers for the girl that I really like, for instance. I stare down at the beautiful bouquet made of white lilies, but the appearance slowly leaves my mind as I think of what Rumpel just said. He bought them for a girl he likes, not for me. My heart feels as if it might be pierced through with something sharp. My breath escapes my throat, but I cannot bring myself to inhale. You're dense, girl. Rumpel looks at me in alarm. Lucette. I nudge him out of the way and walk past him. You so dense. I think it's really cute that she's kind of dense, though. And it's kind of not her fault. I mean, if you think about how she was raised and everything, it's not that abnormal. I make my way to the reception area where I collapse into one of the couches and sit, staring blankly at the walls. The feelings inside of me are too much all at once. I tell myself they do not make any sense, and that the way I reacted to what Rumpel said was pitiful. And yet I still cannot stop myself from feeling small. I sink into the couch and close my eyes, willing away the sound of my rapidly beating heart and the tears stinging the edge of my eyes. I sink into the couch and close my eyes, willing away the sound of my rapidly beating heart and the tears stinging the edges of my eyes. I am not weak. I will not cry. Mother told me. But the thought of Mother makes the tears worse, and soon I am sinking even further into the couch, trying to hide my tear-stained face in my hands. Mother. Bria. They both said the same things. They both see the bad in people, and I too have seen the bad in them. When I was on the streets, no one in Angiel showed me kindness. People will never show you kindness unless there is something in it for them. They will never. I feel sudden warmth as arms wrap around me. I recognize this sensation. The warmth, the comfort. It is all so comforting, so soothing. I must be the worst person in the world. To make such a beautiful lady cry is a sin that I must atone for. My body stiffens, but I do not pull away. I listen to the sound of his heartbeat against my ear, and slowly but surely my crying dies away. My eyes are sore by the time I finally manage to still the tears. I feel drowsiness descend upon me like a blanket, but I will not fall asleep. Slowly I pry myself from the arms holding me. Hello, my love. I messed up again, didn't I? I do not see the bouquet in his hands, but a journal. One of the journals I brought back from Bria. You're capable of a lot more good than I am, Princess. Just look at this. He reaches out and touches my necklace. I glance down at it. You got my journals back for me. I saw them in your room. And I feel it. That this one, the most recently dated one, is the one that I need to unlock my final memory. I grasp a second, incomplete glass slipper around my neck and breathe out softly. Then this really is from retrieving Rumpel's journals from. I got a good deed for finally doing something good for Rumpel. Would you allow me to read it with you? He reaches out and gently brushes a tear from my face. You did all of this for me and you barely know anything about me. That makes both of us. Uh-huh. If you wouldn't mind, I want to read out this entry for you. I nod even though I should be shaking my head, even though I should still be hurt. I cannot stay mad at Rumpel. On this night, I am a poor man. Everything that is precious to me has been stolen away by the witch. Rumpel's voice catches in his throat as he stares at the words. I look over his shoulder at the journal. Witch, was he already cursed when he wrote this? But I have no one to blame but myself. Bria told me before that I would suffer for my selflessness, and so now I find myself here. And now, because of that same selflessness, Bria is sick and I cannot save her. There's only one thing left to do. I have wronged Bria in so many ways, and now I will give anything it takes to save her. No matter what the price the witch asks, I will pay it. I only hope that Bria can forgive me before she leaves. Okay, so Bria was now sick. But Bria didn't seem to remember that. I will write again when the witch is left. I swear that after today I will change for good. I will not ask the witch to perform any more miracles. Rumpel's fingers go to the page where he softly touches a single word. His eyes have the glazed look in them that they have before, and I can tell his memories are snapping back together. For tonight, good night, and may tomorrow be a better morning. I read the last word, a name and a signature. Rumpel reads it out loud slowly. Chevalier Dumont. Your name is Chevalier? I'm gonna just go with Chevalier. I know that might not be correct. He looks up at me, his eyes forlorn, and then with sadness he speaks. That's right. It is so strange. It's just a different name, and yet it seems to change him completely. I remember everything now. I was given the Rumpelstiltskin curse because I sacrificed too much. First it was the boy, the one we saw in the market. I struck a deal with the woman to save him. A witch. He mentioned striking a deal with a woman, but a witch? That's actually pretty clever that that's how they did the Rumpelstiltskin thing, because of the 3 nights, and on the 3rd night was the one thing that she couldn't sacrifice. Even though she said that she would. I don't have the ability to heal. Something wrong? Name just sounds familiar. The witch doctor? Should we really be calling it a witch? The witch doctor? Should we really be calling them a witch doctor? I feel like that has some stuff behind it we probably shouldn't be. The witch doctor? It's no wonder I recognized the name, but yes, it was her. She promised she could heal the boy, but for a price. I had to give her a family heirloom, my family's stethoscope. Next was a nobleman. I could not help him, and so he lay in his bed dying. The witch visited again. I gave her what she asked for. What did you give her? My engagement ring. Bria found out. She told me she'd never forgive me, and then she chased the nobleman to ask for the money we desperately needed, and... well, you know the rest. He gave away things that were precious to him, all to help those people. And I can't get over the whole Lord thing. Then Bria got sick. I made one last deal with the witch because I was desperate to save her life. But it wasn't until after she healed Bria that she told me what she wanted. She wanted your memories. I don't remember what happened exactly. I think I panicked because I suddenly lost my memories. I ran into the alleys, bumped my head on something, fell unconscious, and then I woke up here in the tavern, and I had no idea who I was or how I'd gotten cursed. Rumpel, Chevalier's expression grows more somber. I deserved to be cursed after everything I had done. I was so selfish, an idealist maybe, but I hurt Bria because I refused to see reality. I still deserve to be cursed, actually. But why? Because I am still selfish. Even having remembered everything that made me a bad person, I still desire something. Someone I shouldn't have. My heart plummets again as he looks at me. I still want so badly to forge a future with someone I don't deserve. Because what am I other than a poor doctor? I'm no knight in shining armor, and I'm no prince. He puts a hand on my cheek and leans closer to me. The distance between us closes in mere seconds. But still, I keep on dreaming because His fingers gently caress my cheek, and suddenly I know. I know what he's going to say before he even says it. This could have been so romantic and cute. This could have been really nice. But instead, it's really crappy. I hope you like my bad singing. Okay, so do we say I love you first, or do we ask, you love me? I kind of want to go with this one. So we're going to go with this one first. I do. I love you. But Chevalier smiles at me as he puts his other hand on my back and pulls me closer. The smile is so genuine and so gentle. The same smile I've grown to love. Whatever words I have been meaning to say die in my throat as he leans forward and gently places his lips on mine. I feel more grounded than I have ever felt before, but I also feel like I am flying. I set my hands on his chest and flex my fingers into his shirt. He runs his fingers gently down my face, then down the length of my neck. This kiss feels too short, yet I am still breathless when Chevalier pulls away from me, just enough so that I can see his eyes. I love you, my sweet princess. For your smile, for your laugh, for the way that you look out for other people. You're bold and feisty, and you remind me of a firework. This could have been so cute. And usually I'm like super embarrassed, or I'm like hardcore fangirling over it. Like it's happened every love interest where they kiss or something really cute happens. And I want to so bad. But then I remember some of his past behavior that he still has not in any way made up for. And I'm just like, darn it. I just want to let go for a moment so that I can be all like, look how cute this is. But I can't. I can't. Darn it. I especially like the, you're bold and feisty and you remind me of a firework line. I love that line so much. Why did they have to make him so bad? You're beautiful inside and out. The compliment warms my heart in a way that makes me feel like it might be melting. He reaches behind him and holds out the bouquet from earlier. These are for you. You like lilies, don't you? I take the bouquet from him and bring it to my nose. These have always been my favorite flower. How'd you know? Chevalier grins at me, and it is so similar to his previous smiles that I know he must not have changed. The first time I gave you that white chocolate flower, your eyes lit up. I figured out that Chevalier was perceptive before, but the bouquet in my hands feels all the more meaningful now. Princess, I swear that I want to try and change. For you. You should do it for yourself, too. Myself? You should spoil yourself more, too. You always give to others, but don't take for yourself. Now you know what you did, and you can change things. If Bria can, then so can I. Bria? I went and spoke to her when I was in town today, while I was getting the bouquet as a gift for you. We had a talk about moving on. I didn't understand it fully, and I don't think she did either, but we both agreed that we should. So I'm going to change what I can, Princess. And I promise that I'm going to help you break your curse, just as you helped me break mine. All the good things I have done are for you. That's true. But you've done a lot of other good things too, even if they may not be enough to count for your 3 good deeds. It just so happens that your curse is very picky. I liked that line. Your curse is just picky. I mean, it's true, is it not? Good things. Even though I'm still curt and say more hurtful things than not. I fingered the necklace at my neck and thought, maybe Chevalier is right. Maybe I have changed, and it is a good change. I sit close to Chevalier as the night goes on. He tells me a little bit about his past, and I tell him about mine. About Mother in the palace. The night is not one for advice, just listening. I remember what Chevalier told me once. The listening can be just as meaningful as advice, that listening to others can help you understand them. I really wish more people would understand that sometimes listening is just as meaningful as advice. Because too many people think that if you talk to them about an issue that you're asking for advice versus you just want somebody to confide in. And then if you're just looking for somebody to confide in, I actually had one person straight up just say, then why do you bother talking to me? You could easily just talk to a stuffed animal or something. And it's because of the connection. It means something. It's comforting. That's why. You don't always have to give out advice. You just sometimes need to be there and acknowledge that you heard them and that you understand what they said. And he was right. Princess, are you okay? Oh, if it isn't the princess. Are those dark circles on your eyes from a romantic night out? You were out with someone last night? No, they were from being woken up early by Delora to do chores. Delora grins at me from the other side of the bar, but says nothing as she goes back to a conversation with another boarder. Darling, you were no fun at all. You must tell me what happened last night. Last night? Did you like the bouquet? How do you know about the bouquet? Why? Because it was my suggestion. When Chevalier was asking Karma for advice, it was about me. Look at the way she smiled, Anise. Last night must have gone well. I'm confused. What happened last night? Poor baby. I'm going to get Rumpel to give me all the juicy details when he comes downstairs. I actually enjoy that they're friends, and I kind of feel like they would have made, like, the best of flamboyant friends ever if that had been done correctly. Like, instead of Rumpel behaving the way that he did when he first saw Karma, like, to a certain degree, yes, it would have made sense to his character, definitely the flirting and stuff, but not the way that he behaved for comedy afterwards. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it just sort of like, I would have loved a friendship dynamic between the two of them. I feel like they would have gotten along really, really well, and it would have been really, really funny to see. So I'm sad they didn't try more of that. That is Chevalier to you. Chevalier appears behind Karma smiling. He seems a lot calmer today than usual. He glances over Karma at me, and we catch each other in a silent gaze. Seeing his eyes reminds me of last night, which makes me inadvertently flush. Chevalier just winks at me. Chevalier? What is that? Something you say when a person sneezes? No, that's his name. Rumpel, that is. Chevalier. Broke his curse yesterday. There's stunned silence from everyone in the immediate area. Even Delora walks over to us. What's this about a broken curse? Was it you, Rumpel? He's going by something that sounds like a fancy cake. Her face seems to be bursting with excitement. Even though she is her usual calm self on the outside, I can tell by the bounce in her step and the way she raises her voice to make an announcement that she is proud. When everyone has learned that Chevalier has broken his curse, people come to the table offering drinks and congratulations. Chevalier gets lost in a crowd, mostly of women, but much to my surprise, Chevalier does not flirt back with any of them. And then in between our celebrations for Chevalier, the front door to the mansion opens and Waltz rushes inside. Where are Delore and Lady Parfait? I need to speak to them immediately. Waltz, you're just in time. Something has happened at the palace. The room goes quiet at Waltz's proclamation. A few people shift uneasily in their chairs. Some try to go back to conversation. Most people do not care what happens in the palace, but they can tell by the tone of Waltz's voice that it is bad. What happened at the palace? An uprising. What? A coup. Staged by witches. Witches that have taken over the palace. The information is so sudden it makes me dizzy. I reach out to grab the table and my hands land on the wood before I can slip. Witches have taken over the palace? An army of them? No, only a few. Jurian strides across the room, followed by Garland. What's this about witches taking over? We have some of the best knights at the palace. There is no way witches could break in under the palace's guard. Unless they had someone inside helping them. Alcaster? No, Myth. Who are we talking about? You know him as Mithros. He uses a different name now. He was very clever. He added 3 letters to his name. No one knew. No one suspected. Sir Mithros, the king's advisor? He's a witch? There is no way Mithros is a witch. We would have known. Glamour. He used the glamour. Everything Walt says suddenly gets swallowed up in questions. Jurian and Garland ask question after question while others start surrounding Waltz to ask him what has happened to the king and his children. I try to step closer to listen, but I cannot hear over the frantic voices in the room. Sir Mithros. I never trusted him, but I never thought he would be a witch. The room only quiets down when Delora and Parfait come to punctuate the conversation with their own demands for everyone to give Waltz space. The Martian boarders are all taken into the reception room where Waltz stands at attention waiting to answer questions. He explains that he was looking into a rumor about Sir Mithros from only a few days ago when he found out about the witches' uprising. It was a surprise attack orchestrated by Mithros who let the witches in through a secret entrance to the palace. Alcaster was killed during the uprising. Many knights were injured and are currently being tended to in clinics and hospitals around the town. So Alcaster is so what happened to Mithros has now happened to Alcaster. So in Karma's, I think it's kind of funny how a lot of it's kind of opposite. It was brought up to me that like at some point during Karma's route, which I'm gonna replay Karma's route on my own before I get into a sequel. The first sequel I'm getting into is Rumpel's, but just so I can kind of remember everyone's stories, I'm going to be replaying their routes as I'm also going through the sequel. So as I'm going through Rumpel's sequel, I'm actually going to be playing Rod's route next because I kind of really want to see what happened with Rod. His is the one that I'm the most excited about for some reason, even though Waltz is my favorite, Karma's my second favorite, and Rod is my third favorite, followed by Fritz, and Rumpel isn't even a favorite at all. He's like in the negatives so far down that he doesn't even count to me. But Rod's is the one that had like the most high stakes, I feel like, afterwards. So I just really want to see if how they managed to make it work. I'm very much looking forward to that. But in the meantime, I'm definitely gonna have to like replay Waltz's route or rewatch it or something, because it was mentioned to me that apparently at some point Rumpel was the one that helped Karma out a little bit in his route. So everything's kind of the opposite. In Karma's route, it was Mithros who off-screen got killed, and in this one it's Alcaster who off-screen gets killed, things like that. I don't know, I just thought that was kind of interesting. That's just me though. After his explanation, I feel even worse than I did in the main room. I stare at Waltz at a loss. What of Fritz? Fritz? Sir Alcaster's son. Fritz Gerald. He was my personal knight. If Sir Alcaster was killed during the uprising, where did that put Fritz? Was he working with Sir Alcaster or with Sir Mithros? Did he escape? I'm sorry, Princess. I haven't heard anything about a knight named Fritz Gerald. Was he killed? The thought makes my heart plummet. No, Fritz cannot possibly be dead. I have to believe that he's still alive. I feel Chevalier's hand on my shoulder briefly before it slides off. Are any of the king's knights remaining in the palace? If they are, then they've either been forced to turn against the king or they've been killed. Is Mithras sitting on the throne? No, he usurped the king, but hasn't taken his throne. Waltz turns to me and his expression softens. Princess, feel free to ask me whatever you want. I'm sorry I didn't answer all your questions earlier. I have so many questions, but I suppose I will ask them one at a time. Alright, that looks like it's going to be a lot of information, and we're going to be able to go through each and every one of these. So I'm actually going to stop things here for now, and we're going to continue on tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I am Bacon, and this so far has been Rumpel's route in Cinderella Phenomenon. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like the video. If you like me, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all that lovely stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!